Ahmad Shah was born into an upper-middle-class family in Kabul when a king ruled the nation in 1953. The third of 6 sons, he had wanted to become an army officer, like his father.
From early on, I wanted to enter the military and become an officer. But my father, my parents were against it. They wanted me to become a doctor or an engineer.
But that opportunity never came. By the time he was in college, communists were taking over Afghanistan. So he dropped his studies to join a fledgling resistance movement, taking the nom de guerre.
The Soviet Union, in violation of every convention protecting the rights of a sovereign nation, has tried to impose its will on the people of Afghanistan. Despite the death and destruction brought by the Soviets, the Afghan struggle for freedom continues. In late December 1979, in their greatest show of force since the Soviet invasion of Czechoslovakia, they airlifted thousands of soldiers into the Kabul area and moved tens of thousands more overland across the border into northern Afghanistan.
But it was here that the Soviets met the rebel leader who most readily grasped the more advanced theories of guerrilla war, Ahmad Shah Massoud. Moving quickly from simple hit-and-run tactics, he organized mobile forces to counterattack Soviet assault forces and draw units into side valleys, diluting their effort. He observed their advance from high ground, ambushing them at bottlenecks that slowed the advancing columns, creating stationary targets. Ahmad Shah Massoud had quickly proved to be a popular and charismatic leader. Although he learned guerrilla war from books, he became an effective, shrewd strategist who was undefeated by the Soviets in 9 campaigns.
Massoud, a 33-year-old former engineering student, has established himself as one of the most popular guerrilla chiefs in Afghanistan, a figure whose reputation has spread far beyond the valley itself. Despite his relative youth, Massoud's authority in the Panjshir stands unchallenged. At the same time, his relationship with both his men and the people of the valley has remained informal, almost casual. The organization that Massoud has built up in the valley is somewhere in the region of 7,000 men, a far larger force than the typical Afghan resistance commander might wield. A senior assistant to Massoud offered reasons for the success of the Panjshir resistance.
First of all, of course, help of God. Secondly, as I see it, which differs from other parts of Afghanistan, is an effective guerrilla order. Secondly, unity inside the valley, amongst all the bases in relation to commander himself. Thirdly, which is more important, is an effective and efficient leadership,
Right.
which has got very good plans in mind, on paper, and practice.
How much of this is a question of Panjshir and how much Massoud, the man?
Both Panjshir and Massoud. Leadership is very important in a guerrilla warfare.
Right.
He has become and proved to be a charismatic guerrilla leader of Afghans inside Afghanistan.
An exhausted and humiliated Soviet Union withdrew from Afghanistan in 1989.
The fall of the Berlin Wall and the independence of Eastern Europe and Central Asia were all made possible by the blood of the martyrs of Afghanistan. Other nations, like the United States, also benefited. Afghanistan was the reason that communism collapsed.
The Wall Street Journal agreed, calling Massoud the Afghan who won the Cold War. The Taliban has its roots in religious schools and Afghan refugee camps in Pakistan. Critics say the Taliban's ultra-conservative version of Islam contradicts the teaching of the Quran. Most women are forbidden to hold jobs outside their homes, attend school, or receive proper medical care. The Taliban have destroyed Afghanistan's cultural treasures and banned virtually all forms of entertainment, from television and music to chess and kite flying. Up against all this, one man who has been fighting the Taliban and bin Laden, a renowned leader of the resistance that drove out the Soviets. He may know the Taliban and its supporters better than anyone outside their inner circle. His name, Ahmad Shah Massoud.
Everyone in his vicinity is instantly focused on him, on every movement he makes. It's a very, very powerful experience watching a man who has that kind of impact on people around him. But he's got this incredible force to him, this incredible sort of sharpness to his face, and an incredible seriousness. Someone you would never want to disappoint. And then once in a while, he'll smile. You don't see that in one person very often. That intensity and the humor, the benevolence. He's just a tremendously powerful figure. As far as I can tell, he's going to fight and fight and fight until he wins. He's fighting not because he loves it, but because he knows he has to in order to bring peace and justice to his society.
A prison for Taliban soldiers sits high on a hillside overlooking the valley. The prisoners of war here are from all over Asia, Pakistan, Myanmar, China, and they're not shy about discussing their future goals.
After we've taken Afghanistan, we'll go into other Central Asian countries and bring them down and help them become a part of our big fundamentalist nation.
Well, it's sort of interesting because these guys are prisoners of war. I mean, all over the world, prisoners of war are not treated very well. And they're very well dressed, they're very well fed, and they have, frankly, a beautiful house. I mean, they're living in much better conditions than the population here.
Not only will this area see continued conflict, but also with the presence of Osama and the opportunity provided to him, terrorist operations will spread throughout the world. He is in search of opportunity and a base of operations. Afghanistan provides him that base. And the longer this opportunity is given to him, the more he will fan the flames of terrorism the world over.
I've never been with someone who had such tremendous responsibilities. He's got 10, 15,000 men waiting his orders to attack. And it's going to happen very, very soon, about a mile from here.
In order to end the misery and suffering of the people, to bring an end to their pain and agony, there is no other option but resistance.
He's tireless in his determination.
Massoud works all night. He has his commanders with him, he eats dinner with them, he discusses tactics. It's way past midnight when he finally relaxes. He will read the Quran, he'll read his books of poetry. He does not stop. He just does not stop working.
He's been known to go 36 hours without any real sleep, recharging on occasional 3-minute naps.
Watching him pore over an old Soviet military map, trying to figure out how to attack the Taliban. And I feel like I'm watching a great chess player.
Massoud pushes on into the early hours of the morning, barely sleeping, rising for prayers at sunrise.
People think of Islam as an intolerant religion, one that just spawns terrorists and fighters. But the Prophet Muhammad, his teachings were unbelievably tolerant.
من این اعتراف میکنم که اول که طالبان حرکت شروع کردن ما ماهیتش نفهمیدیم مگر از قلب بسیار یعنی از احساس نیک بود که از سبب ختم جنگ ما فقط با 2 نفر 3 نفر محافظ در بین طالبان در میدان شهر ضرورت داشتیم که در بین طالبان در میدان شهر برم. کابل پیش ما بود. شام داشتیم، دوست داشتیم، کناره داشتیم. فقط برون با 2 یا 3 نفر در میدان شهر. دکتر سرم مرا تا سر کوتل میدان شهر همکاری کرد. از اون بعد من خودم میرم مانع شدم که نیست اینجا باش تمام. رفتم جلسه غیر از ملا آمد. تقریبا همش بود. ملا ربانی، ترابی، امیر رقم نامایشان نکنم منامش رو خلق و کلام ملاشن همه ما گفتم بگه شما چه میکنم گفتن که ما تطبیق شریعت میکنیم 1 2 کمونیستان باش 3 اسلحه جمع شود 4 مبارزه در برابر منکرات تطبیق شریعتی که شمال میطلبیم ما عمر خود از این خاطر صرف کرد این که کمونیستان در قدرت نباشد نجیب ما سقوط کرد و این که در برابر منکرات مبارزه شود هیچ مشکلی نداره و در قسمت خل سلام ما گفتیم این دولت از توپ داره تانک داره این اکثر گروه نیست که تو درای غلطی فکر کرده باشی که صلاحیت داری در قسمت یک حل عقیده قسمت فکر کنیم و سر حکومت بعدی ما آماده است بگویید که چه کنیم یکی طرف دیگه سعی کردن اون طرف دیگه سعی کردن اصلا جوابی نداشت اینمی بریم امرایشان صحبت کنیم به عوض جنگ از طریق تفاهم از این که در بالاتر چیکار نمی‌کنند
بارها خودشان اعلان کردند که یگانه راه حل در افغانستان راه حل نظامی است با وجود همه ما همیشه خواهان مذاکره و حل معضل افغانستان از طریق مذاکره و از طریق سیاسی بودیم چرا ما به این عقیده هستیم که افغانستان قضیهش راه حل نظامی نداره در گذشته توقع تقاضای ما می بود که بتانیم از طریق مذاکره قضیه را حل کنیم امروز هم تقاضا عزیز ما به افراد نظامی ضرورت نداریم مردم افغانستان خودشان آماده هستند که از خود و از منطقه خود دفاع کنند حکومتی را که ما خواهان عزیزیم که در آینده تأسیس شود حکومت خواهد بود که به اساس انتخابات آزاد که در او هم زنها و هم مردها اشتراک خواهد گرفتند به وجود بیاید ما بارها به طالبان گفتیم که وقتی که شما میگین اکثریت هستیم بین بریم طرف انتخابات و این قدرت از طریق یک انتخابات مشروع به دست برین وقتی که شما سر تعدادتان و سر منطقه و اکثریتتان مطمئن هستین. مگر هیچ وقت طالبان تا بال آماده نشدن که برن طرف انتخابات. ما از این طریق بازم میگویم که اگر طالبان واقعا میگن که اکثریت هستیم بریم طرف انتخابات، اجازه بدیم که مؤسسات بین المللی بیاین نظارت کنن از یک انتخابات آزاد در افغانستان.
For the next year, Ahmad Shah Massoud and his allies continued the lonely war against the Taliban and Osama bin Laden. They received little aid from the West. He also continued to send warnings about the terrorism emanating from his homeland. On September 9th, two men posing as television journalists met with Ahmad Shah Massoud. One of the men detonated a hidden bomb, killing himself and Massoud. Some now think that the men were on a mission from Osama bin Laden. Just 2 days after Massoud's assassination, on September 11th, America was struck by a terrorism beyond comprehension. This time, the evils that have been able to ferment in Afghanistan and the suffering have spread far outside its borders, with horrible consequences